Hello, BookTube. Well, it's good to see you again, although I have, by this point, zero confidence that you actually will be seeing this video. This is the 10th try to try and get something from me to you. Because the other day, I had a mini personal preview of the Singularity. All of my advanced technology decided to rise up together against its oppressive overlord. My MacBook Pro died, it didn't actually die. I got a black screen. So I was getting the initiation gong that always sounds when Mac products are turned on. But the screen itself was black, which meant that there were cords in the back that needed to be connected, which needs... There were other possible ways that maybe to fix it, and I tried all of those and they didn't work. The only other way, the way that was probably always going to be true, was that the wires in the back, there's a casing right in the back of the machine that connects the visual display to the computer. Obviously, if that gong is sounding and I'm getting a power indication, there's nothing wrong with the machine. It's just the display. And that requires taking it into the Apple Store, which is an ordeal. And I thought, naive child that I was, that, okay, that's an ordeal, but I can put it off because I am surrounded. I'm up to my earlobes in other technology. So I went right down the list. The iPad, for instance. For some reason, it would not connect to its own filming capability, the filming app that comes with the system. Wouldn't connect with it at all. Wouldn't take pictures, wouldn't take movies of any kind. My iPhone would not upload a video. At first, it told me it would not upload a video longer than 15 minutes to YouTube because that's YouTube's default setting. So I checked to make sure that my phone knew what YouTube account it was sending videos to, and then I checked to see if my YouTube account actually was still registered for longer than 15-minute videos. Both of those things were true, but the phone, there's no telling it what it knows, and there's no way around it. It would not upload longer videos, so I tried a test video that was shorter than 15 minutes, even though for this channel that obviously won't work long term. I thought, okay, well, it's at least a way to make videos. And they recorded just fine, they played just fine, but they wouldn't upload. And my MacBook Air refuses to acknowledge that it has a camera, which is news to me. I could swear I've done videos on it, but now it says the machine, your computer is not connected to a camera. Please connect your computer to a camera. Hal, please connect your computer to a camera. And I'm sitting there at the keyboard saying, okay, but it is connected to a camera. The government is watching me right now through the camera. But nope, nope. And the Kindle, no. Absolutely refused to work. Refused to even acknowledge that I had a YouTube account. And a lot of you suggested that I try the iMovie app, that I download the iMovie app, so I did that. It looks like it has potential, but it won't work on my phone. So I am at last, after a frustrating couple of days, I admit, and I'm glad, actually, that the outside world intervened to make them less frustrating than they otherwise would have been. I was at the peak of my BookTube anger when I got an email from an editor of mine asking if I could read and review the James Comey book that comes out on Tuesday overnight. He emailed me in the morning and said, do you have a copy of the book? It's hard to come by. We don't have any here. I'd like to run a review, and I'd like it to be an opinionated review. So I thought of you. And I said, yes, I have a copy. And he said, okay, can you get me a review? And I said, sure, I assume you'll want it quickly. And he said, yeah, I'd like it tomorrow. So that took all of a big chunk of one day out of all this frustration. And even now, my approach to this was two-pronged. One, I realized that I do not need to bring my computer to the Apple Mac Store. That is why God invented muscular teenagers. And two, the teenagers themselves might have an idea of how to fix the problems that are plaguing all of my technology at once. So both those things are underway, and they assure me, I'm looking at the clock here, because they assure me that this video can be as long as I want. It doesn't need to be just 15 minutes. We'll see. So there's your tech update. I'm sorry that I disappeared. I wish, again, as I said over a year ago in a video here, I wish there were some sort of BookTube bulletin board that we could all subscribe to, so that people would know, who's out of town, who's running which events and whether or not they're still ongoing, and also who's going to have an interruption in service and that otherwise they can't tell you about unless I were to email each individual person that follows me, which would be a little time prohibitive. So I wish there were such a bulletin board. I wish there were such a place so that we could all announce such things. I got a lot of very involved and concerned emails. Why has our ranting Grandpa Simpson gone silent? And it's none of the worst things. Everybody was floating horrible alternatives, but no, it's just what I announced in my last video. My technology is suddenly causing problems. I never even thought about it. Using the MacBook Pro, I used it with a light heart because I thought, okay, well, you have many backups now. You didn't when you started Book2, but now you do. It turns out none of the backups work. So anyway, I don't really believe you're going to see this. I think at any minute this video is going to cut out, or that it's going to finish at whatever length we finish at, but then refuse to upload. But on the chance that all of this works, I thought we would do a little mail, because mail has been coming the whole time that I've been gone. I thought it was hilarious. So many people leaving comments on my last video, sending me emails, sending messages on Twitter and text and Voxer, saying, boy, there's going to be a huge pile of mail when you finally come back. As if I would get 15 packages in the mail. Know perfectly well that new books are in those packages and hold off opening them indefinitely. So look at them and say not, gee, I'm really busy tonight, I'll just do them tomorrow, but instead say, I may never make a video again, I'd better hold off on opening those until further notice. As if I could do that. As if any of you could do that. So there isn't a huge pile of unopened packages. But there are some unopened packages here that just came recently. And I do believe, if this video is up and if you see it, if it all works, I do believe that we have reunited during the last mail haul of the week. So let's see what we have here. Okay, all right. We're off to a fine start. This comes out in September. I did not request it, but I couldn't be happier. This is by Sy Montgomery, the author of Soul of an Octopus. And it is How to Be a Good Creature, with gold inlaid letters on the cover. Isn't that wonderful? It's illustrated by Rebecca Green, and it is subtitled A Memoir in 13 Creatures. In 13 Animals. Oh my, okay. Fantastic. All right, well, those of you who have read Soul of an Octopus will, I'm sure, agree with me. I don't think there are any dissenting votes about that book. This is an author that you would read about anything. So I had no idea that she had a memoir coming out, much less that it was an animal-centric one. Great. Fantastic. Okay. All right, so that's a great start. Let's move on here. See what this next one is. I'm reflexively hurrying. Even though if this thing cuts off at 15 minutes, that's going to be the least of its problems. If it cuts off at 15 minutes, it wouldn't have uploaded in an hour either. Horrible to have tech problems when this whole relationship between us relies on tech. Anyway. Oh, good. Okay. I requested this because it confused and intrigued me. And I like books that do that. This is a debut novel by, let's see here. It's due in paperback. Do you have a date for me? No? No? Okay, you're intentionally leaving that off. Every piece of information except the date. Okay, I have no idea when this comes out, so I won't be doing anything with it. But it's A Road to Damascus by Mido Taha. This is a debut novel by a Lebanese author who is an author and filmmaker born into a Lebanese family of video bootleggers at a time when his country was at war with itself. In a creative freefall, he received a scholarship to the University of Tokyo, wrote a PhD dissertation about the love affair between cinema and architecture, earned an MFA in directing from UCLA, and taught college-level filmmaking in Dubai. And this is his first novel. Let's see, what have we got for description here? Beirut at dawn. A bus leaves the Charles Helou station en route to Damascus. 7 passengers are on board, one of whom is a prominent Lebanese politician. Before crossing the border, the bus is accosted and derailed. Buses aren't on rails. That's all. I know what you mean. All 7 passengers are gunned down. A botanist studying a rare occurrence of acacias nearby witnesses the horror. While the nation around him plunges into conspiracy theories and chaos, the botanist realizes he holds the only clue to the mystery, his injured acacia. This sends him on a quest for answers through a minefield of national fears and family secrets deep into a private underworld. A Road to Damascus is a captivating thriller that reveals a family's intergenerational secrets, a nation's deepest fears, and an underground world of politics, religion, and society. So that sounds really, really good. I have no idea when this book is coming out. The person who wrote the publicity sheet intentionally left that detail off. Because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the omission was intentional, I have no intention of rectifying it. So if I happen, just at random, to learn sometime in the next 20 years when this book comes out, then I'll know whether or not it's too late to review it. But I can certainly say that it intrigues me. Whether I review it or not, I will certainly read it. A debut novel by a Lebanese author. That's fascinating. You see, I'm neatly folding the pub sheet, which I ordinarily do in such a way, it's the only origami that I know, in such a way that you can see the pub date as soon as you open the book. But there's no pub date on the sheet. The publicist intentionally left it off. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one here. This could be a 1986 book, for all I know. You send an advance copy to a reviewer. There's only one thing the reviewer wants to know. There's only one thing you can tell the reviewer that the reviewer wants to know. Everything else the reviewer wants to know from the book, he has to learn for himself. There's only one thing you, as its publicist, can tell him that he wants to know. He isn't interested in how long it is. He's obviously interested in how much it's going to cost when it gets to market. Nope, not any of that. Not even really interested in the author's bio, as fascinating as it was in this case, because the author can be Googled. Nope. What the reviewer wants at a glance from your pub sheet is the date of publication. Anyway. Okay, great. All right. This is also a debut novel. This is What Should Be Wild by Julia Fine. Let's see here. This, I think, comes out really soon. Yeah, early May, which is right around the corner, even though we are right now in Boston on the eve of another snowstorm. And then another one at the end of next week. And I am sure this book's pub date release is May 8th. And I'm sure that on or around that date there will be another snowstorm. Right now, we're getting mild commentary. All of America, basically all of the upper part of America is swathed still in winter, which has never happened before in the history of the world, not just in the history of record keeping for weather. But eventually, that's going to stop everywhere except Boston. Boston is going to continue to get a snowstorm every week, at least once. And in April, that has everybody grousing and looking at the record books and saying, boy, this has only happened twice in the history of weathered record keeping. But when it happens in May, many, many more people will pay attention. It won't. Right now, it's just climatologists who find it fascinating. When it happens in May, a lot of people, just general interest people, will find it fascinating. When it happens in June and July, all of the world will stop to pay attention to Boston. Wars, pestilence, corrupt politicians, all of it will be the second story. The first story will be that it is still snowing every week in Boston. In June and July and August of the year, an entire year without any summer. So that by the end of summer, Boston will have the unenviable distinction of being linked forever with climate change. Not just because it was the first city where climate just went insane, where seasons stopped for the first time in the history of Earth, since Earth cooled, but also for being the city that completely proved climate change. So afterwards, you'll say Boston, and people who used to be climate deniers will say, yeah, it's mid-August. It's 101 degrees Fahrenheit here in Arizona, and it's snowing in Boston for the first time ever that's ever happened. But anyway, that was a long digression for, yes, this comes out in May, which I was a long way around saying that's right around the corner. It absolutely doesn't matter anymore. It's going to be freezing cold, dark all day, and snowing when this book comes out, just like it is tomorrow. So it doesn't really matter. But once upon a time, in our grandparents' day, May was called late spring, early summer. And I think we saw this before, right? Readers who love novels like The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin, okay, that rules me out. The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, yay! And The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey, oh! The Snow Child was so good. And Eowyn Ivey's next novel, I mean, Snow Child's the one that everybody remembers from her, but she wrote a book after that I absolutely loved, and it came and went. I don't think it's ever even come out in paperback because it was such a big production number in hardcover. I mean, it had drawings and marginalia and all sorts of falderall that would be expensive to do in a paperback, especially when I bet the hardcover sales didn't warrant it. But that was a shame because it was a heck of a book. She's a heck of a writer. Those readers, anyway, will be mesmerized by the stories filled with magic and wonder and power in Julia Fine's debut, What Should Be Wild. This darkly funny, self-assured novel, which Harper won in a competitive four-house auction. Good for her. Wow, good for Julia Fine. Conjures a world that is full of characters that readers are loath to leave behind. Okay, all right. I, myself, were I a books publicist, would not put the word loathe anywhere in my pub sheet. The novel follows a highly unusual young woman who must venture into the woods at the edge of her home to remove a curse that has plagued the women in her family for centuries. Maisie Cothay is a special girl, not only because she was born from a dead mother, but also because she is from a long line of women who are cursed, going back to 591 AD. Little pedant point, that should be AD 591. It is possessive, but that's okay. All right, so great. So it's another debut, quasi-magical, and then we'll move on. I know what's going to happen here. I'm just going to end up enjoying myself and talking about each of these books and ranting about the weather until the point where even if this were short enough to upload, it's still too long. And the thing about mail hauls is you can't take them back. You can't redo them. But that's all right. Sooner or later, I feel sure, one way or another, we will be back in contact with each other. Okay. All right. This is also a debut short story collection from an author of novels. This is Certain American States by Catherine Lacey. And this is, rather than inventing fantastical worlds, Lacey has a way of making the world we live in seem newly alien. Okay. What does that mean? Oh my God, this is loaded with blurbs. Jeez Louise. Oh, these are reviews of her book, The Answers. Her novel, The Answers. Molly Young, Dwight Garner, Joy Press, somebody named Sam Sachs, The Wall Street Journal. What did he have to say? The Answers is in part a sparkling satire of our era of big data, but the novel is also a spiritual lament. The specter of holiness haunts Ms. Lacey's book like a phantom limb. Searching religious dimensions add to a fresh commentary on present-day godheads to make The Answers not just one of the most ingenious novels of 2017, but also one of the most moving. Reviewer sounds like a boring old fart. But this is her first collection of short stories. This is due in August. Now that we've gone through it already together, I don't need to go through a rant now about Boston's weekly snowstorms in August. But this is a collection of short stories. So we've got one memoir, and that's been straight fiction. Let's see what else we have here. We're past the point of no return here. I look at the clock in the corner there. I see that it's well past 15 minutes, so you'll never be seeing this. But I actually have been filming on and off the whole time that I've been gone, just because it's a reflex. I don't want to fall out of the habit, especially since, boy oh boy, when you've got deadlines for newspapers that are imposed by editors who've never even heard of BookTube, when you've got books coming and you know and you're dying to read them, so that you can review them later on down the line, when you've got teenage friends coming over to hang out and talk and joke and eat, it's amazing how quickly life can just pull you away from BookTube, and I don't want that to happen at all. So let's see here. Oh, okay, all right. This is from Oxford University Press. No cover to show you. This is Looming Civil War. How 19th century Americans imagined the future. 19th century Americans forecasted a frontier filibuster, an economic clash between free and slave labor, a race war, a revolution, a war for liberation, and Armageddon. These premonitions reveal how several factors, including race, religion, age, gender, region, and class, shaped how citizens imagined their future. Some Americans pictured an open, contested era that they progressed toward and molded with their thoughts and actions. Others saw as a closed, predetermined world that approached them and sealed their fate. Okay. Who is this author when he's at home? Jason Phillips is the Eberly family professor of Civil War Studies in the Department of History at West Virginia University. And he is the author of Die Hard Rebels, The Confederate Culture of Invincibility. Okay, and this is due in October. And it's definitely going to teach me something. Because if you'd asked me before I read that description, to tell you how Americans in the 19th century looked to the future, how they imagined the future, I would tell you that it was one word, race. That's it. That's all. Before and after the Civil War. And this author obviously has dug around a lot more than I have, so I'll learn a lot from the book. That's great. I won't read it until the fall. But, let's see. What is this next one? This is our last one. Boy, another novel. Yikes. Okay. Well, okay, this at least is not another debut. Okay, this is by Andrea Del Carlo. This is Imperfect Delight, due in June. It's fall in Provence, a season that combines the first chill of winter. Not going to do it. Just move on. With a final stretch of warmth that is the last taste of summer. To mark the end of the season, at the local airfield, a famous British rock band, the Bee Bonkers, will hold a concert that is both for charity and to celebrate charismatic lead singer Nick Cruikshank's third marriage. Preparations are in high gear, everything coming together smoothly under the tight supervision of Eileen, Nick's bride-to-be. In town there is also a... Okay, I don't know this word. Gelateria. Gelateria. I almost want to say that it is. It seems to be a business of some kind. It's run by Millenia Migliari, who creates, develops, and produces one-of-a-kind ice cream with artistic precision. If that word means ice cream shop, this book is going in the washing machine. Milena, who has bid adieu to men, now lives with Vivienne. Milena's relationship with Vivienne is solid and unwavering, in stark contrast to the delicacy of her ice cream. In a few days, she will undergo fertility treatments, but she is not entirely convinced. Okay, all right. She hesitates to confess her thoughts, however, as does Nick, who wonders when his relationship with Eileen lost its spark. She's not entirely convinced of what. for she's going to undergo fertility treatments. I have rude news for her. The Vivienne with whom she now lives in perfect contentment and peace cannot provide the key element in fertility treatments. So she's not completely done with men. And it sounds like Nick is going to discover that. So who is this author? He was born in 1952 in Milan. Lots and lots of police activity, lots of plows coming out in mid-April in Boston. After completing a degree in contemporary history, he really sounds grueling. YouTube, in other words. After completing a degree in YouTube, he traveled extensively, living for long periods of time in the U.S. and in Australia. Oh, I envy him. I've never lived in Australia. He was discovered by Italo Calvino, who wrote a foreword for his first novel. He has worked with Federico Fellini and with Michelangelo Antonioni, directing a short film, as well as a film based on his first novel. Wow, okay, so he's been around. His novels have sold millions of copies and have been translated into 26 languages. Good Lord. Okay, so when did Imperfect Delight come out then? This is certainly, it's translated by Brett Auerbach Lynn, and this has to be old, right? No? When did this first come out? 2016, it looks like? Huh. Okay. All right, so this is a translation of a very popular Italian novelist, it sounds like. And it's due in June. All right, so this turned out to be a fiction-heavy haul. You're never going to see it, so it doesn't matter. But let's see what we've got here. We've got What Should Be Wild, a debut novel. We have Looming Civil War, How the 19th Century Saw Itself. Certain American States by Catherine Lacey. Imperfect Delight. A Road to Damascus, which came out in 1970. And How to Be a Good Creature by the author of Soul of the Octopus. Wonderful. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up now and fail to upload it. But I will see you soon, I promise. It won't be relatively soon, but eventually. Thank you, BookTube.